Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Do I know you?
No.
Okay.
I came out of your sunroof, but
People don't need to know that. Thanks very much.
I was a tumour baby. I was removed.
Fucking tumour, all right.
So, today, hi, welcome to Mainly Murder with Meg and Mum.
Hi, we're just going to start talking
Hi,
shit.
you
Okay.
know where you are. You've clicked on us. Anyway, yes, Mainly Murder. I'm Meg.
And Mum.
And Mum. That's Mum.
Well, I'm not mainly murder, though. I'm all this is fucked up in every direction and just here for the comments.
Well, this one.
My own. Not
Yeah,
anyone
yeah.
else's. Just my own.
Well, this one, you will know a little bit about.
Oh, okay.
I did move this one up the schedule
Mm-hmm.
because we both just finished watching Cross on
Loved
Amazon.
it. Absolutely fucking love. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favour.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Ah,
and it's
brilliant.
the James Patterson books, a book series of Alex Cross.
Yeah.
They've made it into it's only got one season. Season 2 is coming out in the end of 2025.
Good.
Um,
End of 25.
apparently they finished filming, and
Well,
it's
that's
gonna.
a long time away. End of 25.
Well, you'll have to wait.
I can't. That's the problem with TV now.
Yeah.
You've watched something and then you're like, I want the next one now. And you got to wait
Yeah.
like 6 to 8 months and all of a sudden you're like, what happened again? I've done that before where I've watched like the final episode of the previous series. So I
Yeah.
can go, all right, that's where it is. We're starting again.
Or I like when they do like a bit of I find on, I think
catch up.
Netflix, they'll do like a, not
Yeah.
quite the next episode, but there'll be a new one of here's what happened.
Yeah, but
that you've probably
yeah,
forgotten.
you've got to because some of them are so far because you binge watch everything now.
Yeah.
You just go, oh, it's only 8 episodes. I can do that in
Our
a week.
Amazon Prime has commercials.
Yeah.
That's, what do you
Well, they've
pay?
got to make their, I don't know.
Yeah, that's like Netflix. Like you pay, what am I paying for?
I don't know. Fucking take it up with them.
Oh,
Just get back to
Amazon.
the story. This sounds like an interesting one. This is the first time in how many episodes? I'm actually interested in the story.
Anywho, as we discussed the other day
Yeah.
at work,
Do you work with me? Oh, fuck.
we work together, we podcast together. Yeah, it's a lot.
A lot. Fucking understatement.
But when we were watching Cross,
Yeah.
there was, I don't think it's a spoiler. It happens in the first episode, doesn't it? Where the what's his name? Good something. Goodfellow. Good.
Yeah, whatever.
Amir. Good.
I don't know. I watched
Fuck.
it ages ago. I passed on. I moved on.
Anyway, so no, I can't say it because it's going to spoil Cross. Anyway, one of the characters in Cross, I can't do it without spoiling it.
Oh, fucking do it. You can't. What are you
No.
trying to say?
One of the characters is not a serial killer. They reference a lot of serial killers in this show.
Oh, okay. Well,
And
that's all right.
one of the main ones is the Sandman. And I was like, how do I not know this case? And he was made up to fit the storyline
Well,
of
that's
the
all
show.
right. That's not giving anything
I didn't know
away.
how to word it
Yeah, but
without
that's not
giving
giving
it away.
giving anything away. That's just giving it away.
That
That's
the-
just
the
you,
serial
your own
killers are
thing.
mentioned.
It's like the serial killer. How do I not know him?
Yeah, and I was
I
like,
didn't know him. I was excited. I'm like, oh, fucking who's this guy?
well, yeah, because I was like, the Sandman. I think there's one similar, like the Sleep Reaper or the Grim
Okay.
Sleeper.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, maybe it's, but not real. Anyway, today we have this one. It was moved up the ladder because of watching Cross. So today we have the story of Aileen Wuornos.
Okay.
Yes. So Aileen was one of America's first and probably well-known female serial killers.
Because they're very rare, aren't they? Female serial
Serial
killers.
killers very, or there's like, they don't fit. There's like black widows that kill their husbands.
Yeah, which
But
you
then
can
again-
understand. Anyone that's fucking married can understand that one.
But then again, if you've had like 4 ex-husbands that you've killed, that's 3 or more murders. That's a serial killer.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot more male serial killers than female serial
Yeah.
killers. So Aileen Carol Pittman was born on the 29th of February, 1956 in Rochester, Michigan. Her mother was Diane Wuornos and was born on the 12th of August, 1939 in Detroit, Michigan.
Why do we need mum's birth date
I
details?
don't know, just in case you want to know.
Is that like when they do a thing on news, I'll go, Megan was born in 1996. Her mum, 30 years earlier. Bang. Okay. Just weird.
Or some
Take that out.
you'll tell your year of birth to someone, they'll think it's your
And
age.
your age. Yeah, fuck off, Tomo, prick.
At the age of 14, she married 18-year-old Leo Dale Pittman on the 3rd of June, 1954. So the mum was married at 14.
The mum was married
Her
at 14.
mum married her dad when.
Oh, I thought you were saying her.
No.
Sorry.
Sorry, that's what it was giving you the backstory of her parents.
Okay.
So her mum, Diane, was 14 when she married her 18-year-old, who's her dad.
Mm-hmm.
On the 14th of March, 1955, Diane and Leo welcomed their first child into the world, a boy named Keith. Diane was pregnant with their second child, and after less than 2 years of marriage and 2 months before Aileen was born, she filed for divorce.
Oh.
Diane was only 16 years old when she gave birth to Aileen.
Divorced at 16.
Yeah.
That's got to be close to in the record books, doesn't it?
And Aileen said that she had never met her father. Leo was serving a life imprisonment sentence for kidnapping and raping a 7-year-old girl.
Ah.
He was diagnosed with schizophrenia and
Fucking
ended
hell.
up hanging himself in prison on
Good.
the 30th of January.
Okay. Happy ending. That's all I care about. Keep going.
On the 30th of January 1969 at the age of 32.
Yep. Good. Off you go.
Diane, at the time, a teenage mum of 2 kids, must have found the responsibilities too much and left her kid with her parents, Laurie and Britta, when Aileen was just 4 years old.
Jesus.
So her grandpa was Laurie and her auntie, so the mum's sister, was Laurie. So grandpa was Lauri. Laurie?
That's Laurie.
Laurie and Laurie.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
What the fuck? It's nearly as bad as William, and William.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Diane's parents legally adopted Keith and Aileen on the 18th of March 1960. So her grandparents adopted them.
Bet they regretted that.
Well, if Eileen's accounts of her childhood are to be believed,
Uh-oh.
Laurie, her own grandfather, was abusive both physically and sexually towards the children. Aileen has said that before beating her, he would force her to strip out of her clothes. This case, some people are on the fence about her. Some people
What? On the fence how?
of
She killed
idolizing
people?
her. Like,
But she's a serial killer.
she is a serial killer
But they're saying what? Because of her childhood?
because of her childhood and pretty much what the guy in Cross was saying. Poor her, had a shit life, had to do it.
Okay. All right.
And a lot of people on the other side of the fence where I am of...
She's a killer.
Yeah, you'll see.
You'll see.
Yeah, you'll
Please
see.
hold.
Please hold. We'll discuss later.
Yeah.
So according to Laurie, her auntie, according to Laurie, her dad, Laurie,
Oh, fuck.
yeah, it's not for too long, would take away Christmas presents from Aileen whenever they arrived from her mother, Diane. Their parenting was described as Dickensian style of parenting, which the Guardian described as strict domestic rituals that were tantamount to observe compulsive disorder. These included inspecting the children's bedrooms every morning and leaving notes behind if they were unsatisfied. According to Laurie, her father also once forced Aileen to watch as he drowned a cat.
What the fuck? A lot of serial killers got stuff to do with animals too, don't they?
It's a McDonald triangle.
What?
McDonald triad.
What's a fucking McDonald triad when it's at home?
The McDonald triad. I don't
For
think
us
is-
uneducated murderers.
Let me tell you.
Please do.
Pull up a pew.
I will.
So the McDonald triad is not used a lot anymore because of a lot of other factors, but there was the 3 things. There was animal cruelty,
Mm-hmm.
starting fires,
Mm-hmm.
and persistent bedwetting beyond a normal age.
Okay.
Those 3 in the childhood you can see in a lot of murderers and serial killers.
Yep.
A lot of them also have head trauma when they're little.
And touchy-feely adults
Touchy-feely
around
people,
them.
but no, sometimes. Head trauma, and a lot seem to want to go into the military. Like head trauma's kind of an unofficial one. Military, I've just found in a lot of cases, there's a lot of military background, whether it's them, an uncle, a dad, or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, head trauma, fire starting and arson, bedwetting beyond a normal age, and cruelty to animals. Those 3 combined are the McDonald triad.
Oh, there you go.
So, Laurie died in 1976 of carbon monoxide poisoning, but it is unclear whether it was intentional.
I just sat in the car with the garage door down and
Yeah, well,
having to talk to himself.
bye, Laurie.
I'm worried about that every time I pull in at night when I'm talking on the phone and I sit there with the car and I'm thinking, fucking, I probably should turn the car off at this point.
Probably.
I
I think it would take a lot longer than that.
I know
to
it would,
kill
but
yourself.
it just makes me, I have a little giggle because I shut the garage. I can't shut the garage
I
door.
nearly killed
And
myself
I'm
today.
still in the car talking and I'm like, probably should turn the car off now because the air's not getting any thinner. Anyway, go on.
Anyway, so Keith and Aileen were very close siblings. If again, Eileen's stories would be to believed,
They were very close siblings.
the siblings were a lot closer than normal siblings. The normal siblings should have been.
Nah. Yeah.
They reportedly had an incestuous relationship,
Oh, God.
and this is told in the many versions of people covering Eileen's story. Although in Michael Reynolds' book Dead Ends, many of Keith's friends spoke to investigators after Aileen was arrested and had said that Keith viewed his sister as nothing more than a tag-along, but nobody ever knows what really goes on behind closed doors.
As I was just about to say, their friends wouldn't know what happened.
If you're fucking your sister, you're not going to tell your friends.
So what did you do last night? Went home, watched some TV, fuck my sister. What about
Yeah, like
you?
that's something you're probably not going to share.
No, exactly.
By the age of...
That's a bit of Matlock, fuck my sister.
Slipped a finger in. It's all good.
That's disgusting. Oh my God, Megan, you're doing this with your mother.
Not what they were doing.
Oh,
Anywho,
shit.
so-
Okay, all right. So he's fucking his sister. Yep, that's where we're at.
By the age of 11, Aileen began engaging in sexual activities in school
Jeez.
in exchange for cigarettes, drugs, and food, and apparently earned the nickname Cigarette Pig.
Oh, that's nice.
Better than brother fucker. In a
Motherfucker.
sister fucker. In a letter Aileen wrote to her friend Dawn, she recounted how she dramatically dropped out of school. The principal had caught Aileen with weed, or what she had called a 4-finger lid of Acapulco gold.
Okay.
She was called into his office and she told him, "Bullshit, I ain't reporting nowhere. Matter of fact, I quit school." Aileen was 14 years old at the time and also pregnant.
Oh, of course. Like mother, like daughter.
Well, yeah. Aileen gave birth to a boy at a home for unwed mothers on March 23rd, 1971, and the child was placed for adoption.
Oh, thank God for that. It stood a chance.
Yeah. She allegedly named her child Keith, and the name made for people assuming that her brother Keith Keith
Not the father.
was the father of her child, but she was allegedly raped and impregnated by a friend of her grandfather's.
Oh,
I don't know what's
worse. Yeah.
In Nick Broomfield's documentaries about Aileen, he interviews her childhood best friend Dawn Boatkins, who claims that Aileen was raped and impregnated by a known pedophile.
Oh.
She said, quote, "The guy that raped her was like 60 years old and he loved all the kids. Aileen was drunk and he'd take advantage of her and shit like that. So that's who she got pregnant by."
And shit like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Quote.
And shit like that.
When Aileen was 15, her grandfather threw her out of the house and she began living in the woods near her old home and supported herself through sex work. She was also living in the woods in Michigan during autumn or winter, which apparently it gets between 31 degrees and 19 degrees Fahrenheit, which is between 0 and -7 degrees Celsius.
I can imagine it'd be bloody freezing.
Yeah.
No wonder she had to do tricks to stay warm.
Aileen also sometimes slept in abandoned cars or with some of her clients who would let her stay the night in their homes. Aileen put it as she hit the road, sleeping in cars, begging, stealing, selling pills, and selling sex. Around this time, her grandmother Britta died of liver failure as a result of heavy drinking. When Aileen went to her grandmother's funeral, she was busted as a runaway and sentenced to 6 months in an Adrian girls' school.
Oh, this is bed, breakfast, and a roof
Yeah.
over her head.
She was declared a ward of the state until the age of 18. After a couple of weeks, after only a couple of weeks of being at the girls' school, Aileen said she was suddenly getting homesick. She described the school as so open you could just walk away. So I figured Piece of cake. Aileen had volunteered for kitchen duty one morning after breakfast was served, morning roll call was done, and one more round of checks from the guards, she made her move. She ran out the back door, ran across a dirt road, jumped over a ditch, and headed into the woods. She was, quote, flooring it through pine, brush, and shrub. She knew she was to run at least a mile or two before she could slow down. Aileen said that she heard the hounds on her trail and described them as one huge fat guy in farmer's jeans and one dog. Aileen said that her only hope was to hide out near the tracks and wish for the best. The dog stared directly at her for a moment before going back to sniffing the ground and moving down the tracks away for her. In minutes, a second man with a dog appeared in the woods, but neither man nor dog noticed her. That's a great fucking sniffer dog.
I was going to say, yeah.
Reaching the edge of a field she would have to cross, she sat down to rest under a tree in the middle of the field when a third man walked up and said,
"Hey, how you doing?"
"It was a long walk to get to you. Mind if I sit down with you and catch my breath?"
It was a long walk to get to you.
Yeah, it was a long walk to get to you.
Okay.
She was taken back to the girls' home, but it wasn't long until she tried to escape for a second time. Aileen's second escape attempt was at night. This time, she was badly cut up when she ran into a barbed wire fence and fell into pits containing coiled barbed wire several times. She was gone for 3 weeks before being captured and sent back to the school. Contrary to reports of cruel punishment in the early 20th century, Aileen makes no mention of unusual punishment following her 2 escaped attempts.
You wonder why she was so keen to get out of there.
Why
was
were you
a roof
keen?
over
Why
her
was
head.
there
It was
fucking
food.
hound dogs?
It was.
Why was there barbed wire?
Yeah, well, that makes you wonder too.
After the second attempt, she made a deal with her counsellor that if she behaved for a full 60 days without incident, she would be released. Aileen would keep her word and was released 60 days later.
Okay.
At age 18, on the 27th of May 1974, Aileen was arrested in Jefferson County, Colorado, for driving under the influence, disorderly conduct, and firing a .22 caliber pistol from a moving vehicle. Then she was later charged for failure to appear.
Jesus.
While hitchhiking across America, Aileen arrived in Florida and was presented with a potentially life-changing piece of luck. She met Lewis Grants Fell. Lewis was born on the 28th of June, 1907, making him 69 years old when they met.
I was just going to say.
And Aileen was 20.
Oh, would have been love at first sight.
Yep. Lewis grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. During his adult life, he moved to Florida, where he made a life for himself. By 1976, Lewis was enjoying a comfortable life in Florida as leader of a posh yacht club and a genuine aristocrat.
Oh, please leave that in. Please leave that. Aristocrat.
Everybody wants to be a cat. That was a good movie.
You were doing so well.
He was
aristocrat. Crat.
He was an aristocrat, not an aristocrat. If you have not seen The Aristocats, please go watch it. It's a great movie.
Oh, that was good. Okay, so what did the aristocrat do?
He got stolen by the butler, and then he met Thomas O'Malley. Anyway, Lewis had been married several times before.
Of course he had.
His first encounter with 20-year-old Aileen Wuornos was while residing in Florida. The 69-year-old was president of the neighborhood yacht club at the time, indicating that he was well off and a member of the state's elite. Not the Aristocats. Is that why they were called the Aristocats? Because they were aristocrats. And they were cats.
What?
Cats?
I've got no fucking idea what you're even asking now, so you can delete that later.
Despite his life experience, the father of one quickly fell in love with the much younger Aileen, and they hurried to the altar. Lewis and Eileen's marriage was publicised in the social section of the neighbourhood newspaper.
Oh, God.
Aileen continually involved herself in confrontations at the local bar and went to jail briefly for assault.
Well, she was married to Lewis.
Yep.
Okay.
She also stole her husband's cane and beat him with it on a fateful day shortly after their marriage.
Oh.
Lewis fortunately survived the incident, promptly got a restraining order against his wife, and the marriage was formally dissolved on the 21st of July 1976.
So it didn't even make a year.
They...
Sad for me, Megan.
That's fucking rude.
What month did they get married?
I don't know. I was just looking for that. It wasn't long.
But was it as long as others is what we're trying to establish.
Lewis passed away on the 6th of January
Aw.
2000 at the age of 92.
Oh, good innings.
Yep. I wonder if you like cricket. There was a guy at the pub.
What?
There was a guy at the pub.
I was looking out the window.
Squirrel?
I didn't realise you were asking me a question.
No, it wasn't
What?
a question. I'll
Back?
tell you a story. Me and Dad went to the pub and there was a guy there. And we're like, oh, how you going? And he's like, oh, not good. Dad died. We're like, oh. And he's like, oh, we got to like 98 or something. And Dad goes, oh, it's a good innings. And the guy goes, yeah, he did like cricket. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, well, that's where the expression comes from.
Well-
Bloody good innings.
On the 14th of July, 1976, she was arrested at Bernie's Club in Manslaughter in Antrim County.
I think you should start each podcast with an apology for
To every single suburb.
suburb, county,
Any
or
hootie, and was charged with assault and disturbing the peace for throwing a cue ball at the bartender's head.
Oh,
3 days later, on July 17th, her brother Keith died of esophageal cancer.
oh,
Aileen was the sole beneficiary of her brother's life insurance and received a payout of about $10,000, which would have been about $52,000 today.
not bad.
The next month, Aileen was given a $105 fine for drunk driving. She used the money inherited from her brother to pay the fine and spent the rest within 2 months buying...
Jesus Christ, you'd do that. What am I hearing about? If someone gave you money, you'd fucking blow it in the breeze in a second.
I'd pay my bills. I'd probably get some nice things for myself.
Of course you would.
Within 2 months, buying luxuries, including a new car, which she wrecked shortly afterwards.
Oh, okay.
In 1978, at the age of 22,
Oh, God.
she attempted suicide by shooting herself in the stomach.
Oh,
Between the ages of 14 and 22, Aileen had attempted suicide 6 times.
Jesus Christ. Does it say why?
Well, she was broke as she was in jail. She had a hard life. I feel sorry for like pre-murder Aileen. On the
but I mean, I knew she had a hard life, but I've wondered if something had happened.
Well, she was
from when
sexually
she won
assaulted by her
the-
grandpa. Her brother died, who was her best friend and fuck buddy. Like, that's a hard thing to lose.
Nothing worse than losing your fuck buddy unexpectedly.
On the 20th of May 1981, Aileen was arrested in Edgewater, Florida for the armed robbery of a convenience store. She had stolen $35 and 2 packets of cigarettes. She was sentenced to prison.
Well, now, two packets
like
of
$100
cigarettes,
right
that's
there.
like 20 grand.
Yeah.
Oh, bit
Like
exaggerated.
over $100. She was sentenced to prison on the May the 4th, 1982 and released on June 30th, 1983. So she spent about a year in prison, just over a year
For
in prison.
$35 and 2 packs of cigarettes.
Yep.
Cheese and rice.
A year later, on May 1st, 1984, Aileen was arrested for attempting to pass forged checks at a bank in Key West. Key West sounds familiar. That's where Carl Tansler was.
Uh-huh.
Remember him?
No.
The one with the...
I'm trying to forget.
I'm trying to not remember.
I'm trying to not remember, yeah.
On January 4th, 1986, Aileen was arrested in Miami and charged with car theft, resisting arrest, and obstruction of justice for providing identification bearing her aunt's name. On June 2nd, 1986, Volusia County deputy sheriffs detained Aileen for questioning after a male companion accused her of pulling a gun in his car and demanding $200. Aileen was found to be carrying spare ammunition, and police discovered a .22 pistol under the passenger seat she occupied. In 1986...
Did she have $200 on her? Did he not pay?
I think they were still in the car.
Oh, okay. What?
They were still in his car.
So
She was
how
in the
did he
passenger
report her
seat.
to the police if he's still sitting in the car?
In 1986, 30-year-old Aileen first crossed paths with 24-year-old Tyria Moore at the Daytona Beach gay bar called Zodiac. The two spent the night together
Is that where the killer was born?
and grew close.
Okay.
The Zodiac is a killer. Eileen's biographer, Sue Russell, says of the fateful meeting, from then on, Aileen and Tyria became inseparable. That was the anchor that Aileen had been looking for.
Oh, so she was going the fucking hot dogs instead of the taco.
Oh, yep. I was like, what? Oh, my God.
Man down.
The couple The couple then began to live together and became notorious among their private circles for their nomadic lifestyle, often bunking in friends' apartments, motel rooms, and at times even the woods. Eventually, their relationship blossomed into the extent that Aileen began to lovingly refer to Tyria as her wife. They lived off Eileen's earnings as a sex worker, although Tyria initially disapproved of Eileen's profession. Now we'll get to why the name Aileen Wuornos has become infamous. Between 1989 and 1990, Aileen murdered 7 men.
Whoa.
So her first victim was Richard Charles Mallory. Richard was born on the 18th of October 1938 in Palm Harbor, Pinellas County, Florida.
Pinellas? Pinola?
Pinellas.
Oh.
He was the owner of a Clearwater, Florida electronics repair business. Richard was known to disappear for a few days and not show up to work, so when he didn't show up for a couple of days, his co-workers thought nothing of it.
Oh, shit.
There was one quote about Richard that kept coming up in my research.
Mm-hmm.
His only constants were alcohol, sex, and paranoia.
Huh.
That was a lot to describe Richard. Richard was apparently known to close up shop abruptly and disappear for a few days at a time on drinking and sex binges.
Oh, fair enough.
He also changed the locks to his apartment 8 times in 3 years.
God.
He kept employees at his business only long enough to clear the backlog of work that accumulated during one of his disappearances, and then letting them go once his repair orders were caught up again. So when he didn't show up to open his shop in early December 1989, no one thought much of it.
No one gave a fuck.
Yeah, they're like, okay,
bottom
he's off
line,
again.
no one gave a fuck. He's off on the piss and the booze again and the girls.
It wasn't until his 1977 Cadillac was found a few days later outside Daytona that anyone knew anything about him being missing. On January...
Sad.
Well, yeah, especially if he's
sad that
known to go off for a couple of days. They probably thought, oh, he'll be back. And then they're like, oh, shit, his car's just been found. He's not just gone off again. On December 13th, 1989, 2 young men, Jimmy Bonchi and James Davis, were looking for scrap metal along a dirt road close to Interstate 95 in Volusia County. Instead of finding sellable junk, they found a body wrapped in a carpet.
Oh.
The police were called to the scene and the man's fingerprints were taken, and they identified the body as belonging to Richard Mallory. He had last been seen 13 days earlier when they found his body. It had been left lying on his back with his pants pockets emptied and turned inside out. Richard had been shot several times, but 2 bullets to the left lung were found to have caused hemorrhaging and ultimately death. The medical examiner also determined that Mallory had been drinking at the time of his death, though it was not.
So he didn't bill a thing?
Though it is not clear whether he was legally intoxicated. When they
you would hope for his sake he was.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot less to deal with if you were blind.
Well, yeah. When they'd found his car...
Blind drunk. I mean, not blind. No, CC. You know, some people may not understand what blind... That I meant blind drunk. Just...
Yes. When they'd found his car, it was found to contain his wallet and personal papers scattered nearby, along with several condoms and half an empty bottle of vodka.
Were the condoms used?
I don't know.
Oh. Well, I just wondered if it was a full condom.
Months of investigation went by and they still had no real leads. The initial suspect revolved around a stripper that went by the name of Chastity. Chastity. Titty. Chastity.
Yep, that'd be a stripper's name, Chastity.
Chastity had told her boyfriend that she had been away for a few days to party with Richard Mallory and that she was the one who had killed him. The investigators arrested Chastity only to realise that her confession was prompted by a burst of anger at her boyfriend and was not true.
So, sorry, wait on. She's having a fight with her boyfriend, so she admits to going off and murdering someone?
Yeah, I don't know why.
That's fucking stupid. What if the lazy cops just went, yeah, cool, all right.
We'll take you, Titty.
Done, thanks. Thanks, job done. 2 days, lock her up. How stupid.
Yeah.
Up.
Richard Mallory was apparently known as a violent man who often frequented strip clubs and used the services of sex workers often. Richard's financial reports revealed that he was on the verge of bankruptcy and he had spent time in a mental institution after being convicted of rape in Maryland. Didn't deserve to be shot, but
yeah,
he was convicted of attempted rape. So the next victim is David Andrew Spears. David was born on the 20th of July 1942 in Greenup County, Kentucky, and was a construction worker in Winter Garden. On the 1st of June, his naked body was found in the woods of Citrus County, Florida, about 40 miles north of Tampa. The body was identified on the 7th of June to be David's, who was last seen 14 days earlier. He had told his boss and friends that he was going to be traveling to Orlando for a vacation, but unfortunately never made it there. David had been shot several times also with a .22. In regards to physical appearance, there wasn't a lot he had in common with Richard Mallory, other than both men were middle-aged and had dark hair and facial hair. David Spears, in one source of reference, is described as being practical, predictable, honest, and hardworking, which does not fit the description of the type of man that Aileen would later go on to state in the trial into the crime. The truck was found shortly after his body on Interstate 75, with all of the doors unlocked and the license plates missing. Ironically, his boss had spotted the missing pickup truck on May 25th, parked along I-75 south of Gainesville, but there the trail went cold. By the time David was identified, a third victim had already been found. So Charles Edmund Carscaden Jr. was born on the 12th of November 1949. Charles was a part-time rodeo worker from Boonville, Missouri, and had been missing since May 31st. He had vanished somewhere along the I-75 en route from Boonville to meet his fiancée in Tampa. On June 6, 1990, his body was found in Pasco County. His body was so badly decomposed that medical examiners were not even able to obtain any fingerprints and could not estimate the time of death. His remains were covered by an electric blanket and a large amount of uprooted tall grass. The 9 bullets found in his remains were badly damaged by decomposition, but was determined to have come from a 22 caliber weapon, just like the other 2.
Is that how they got them all to work out it was her?
I think so. On June,
just so far, like you haven't said, she met so and so at whatever.
I think I do later.
Oh,
I'm just telling you the victim so far.
Oh, okay.
On June 7th, Charles's car was found in Marion County, a .45 automatic, and various personal items listed as stolen from the vehicle. Witnesses had seen Aileen Wuornos in possession of Charles's car. She had also pawned a gun identified as belonging to Charles. So now we have a 4th victim. On the 4th of July, a car sped off State Road 315 near Orange Springs, Florida, and came to rest in some brush. Rhonda Bailey, who was sitting on her porch at the time, watched the accident happen and said two women scrambled frantically from the car, throwing beer cans into the woods and swearing at each other. Rhonda said the brown-haired woman said little, and the blonde, whose arm was bleeding from an injury sustained in the crash, did most of the talking. She begged Rhonda not to call the police, saying her father lived just up the road. Maury Poveridge says the results are in, and we've determined that is a lie.
I was like, why are you pausing for?
I was like, what? Rhonda said that the blonde and her companion got back into the car, which now had a smashed windshield and other damage, and got out of the brush. They abandoned it just down the road and began walking. Herbert Hewitt of Orange Springs Volunteer Fire Department responded to a call about the accident and asked the 2 women if they had been the ones in the car. The blonde cursed at him and said no, they had not, and they did not want any help. He left them alone and they walked on. Marion County Sheriff's deputy found the car where the woman had left it. It was a 1988 Pontiac Sunbird, grey with 4 doors. The glass in the front doors as well as the windshield had been smashed. There were apparent bloodstains throughout the interior and the license plate was missing. I don't know why she's taken the license plates. Like, you're still going to identify a car. Like, if you're looking for a fucking...
Yeah. Well, but a lot of American states only have one plate. It's either the front or the back.
Oh.
Not all American states. I don't know if it's every American state only has one, but no, a lot of them just have one identifying plate.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. A computer search based on the VIN number revealed that the car belonged to Peter Symes. Peter Abraham Symes was born on the 21st of May 1929 in Passaic County, New Jersey. At the age of 65, Peter was a retired merchant seaman who devoted much of his time to a Christian outreach missionary.
While many states in the US require both front and rear license plate, there are 21 states do not mandate a front license plate.
Oh, well, there you go.
So there you go.
It wasn't a Christian outreach missionary, it was a ministry. Peter left his home in Jupiter, Florida to visit relatives in Arkansas, or Arkansas as it's spelt. Peter never arrived and a missing persons report was filed with the police on June 22nd. John Wisniewski of Jupiter Police, who had been working the case since Peter was reported missing, sent out a nationwide teletype containing descriptions of the two women. He also sent a synopsis of the...
Teletype? What would that have been? Like a
case...
Like a telegram thing?
No, it's like a drawing of the suspects.
Oh, a teletype.
I'm pretty sure.
Just when you said, whatever you said after that. Teleprinter, device to send and receive type messages over communication channels.
Oh.
So...
Well, like a fax.
Yeah, kinda.
He also sent a synopsis of the case and sketches of the women to the Florida Criminal Activity Bulletin. Then he waited. He was not optimistic about finding Peter alive. And to this day, Peter's body has still never been found.
Oh, Jesus. Well, then how do they know he's dead?
I don't know. Maybe she
That's always
admitted to it.
I don't know. It's just always intrigued me when they go and they've never found a body. Well, how do you know they're dead? How do you know they just didn't... He didn't want to fuck off and start a new life somewhere else, new ID.
I think in...
Not saying he has, but I'm just saying...
Yeah, in some cases they're like, oh, they've never found the body. It's like, well...
Yeah, well, it's like, so how do you know he's dead? How do you know he just hasn't...
Maybe they were able
with
to...
multiple IDs.
I think some of them, prior to death, they might be able to connect them to them and if they confess or whatever. So the next victim is Troy Eugene Bogart. Was born on the 28th of January 1940 in Savannah, Tennessee. Troy was a 50-year-old sausage salesman from Ocala, Florida. Troy left on his delivery route from Gilchrist Sausage early on the morning of July 30th. When he didn't return that afternoon, Gilchrist manager Johnny May Thompson started calling around and discovered Troy hadn't shown up to his last few delivery stops. Later that night, she and her husband went out looking for him. At 2 a.m., Troy's wife reported him missing, and at 4 a.m., Marion County Sheriff's deputies found his truck on the shoulder of State Road 19, 20 miles east of Ocala. 5 days later, on August 4th, a family out for a picnic in the Ocala National Forest happened upon his body in a clearing just off Highway 19, about 8 miles from where his truck was found.
Oh, that would have been nice for him, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because we're just going to go have a nice family picnic in the park and then, we found a dead
air.
body. The children are traumatized.
Exactly. They become the next serial killer.
Oh.
Vicious circle.
Yeah. Vicious cycle.
Yeah,
Was that from the ranch when he says it's a fisher's cycle?
What?
Was that from the ranch? When he
I
said
don't
it's a fisher's cycle?
Probably.
Not vicious. The Florida heat and humidity had hastened decomposition, precluding identification at the scene, but his wife identified him by his wedding ring. He had been killed with 2 shots from a .22 caliber gun, one to the chest and one to the back.
I'm interested to hear why.
She ultimately claimed self-defense.
On all, how many people?
7.
7, okay.
I don't know how you claim self-defense when they have injuries to their back.
And yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand how people are on the fence about one. Sure, claim self-defense. That first guy, he had alleged rape, he had all this shit against him.
Mm-hmm.
He was known to be violent and used it. 100% self-defense.
Yep.
7?
7 seems extreme.
7 in a very short...
She's had a very bad luck run of men.
How?
If they're all that way inclined, she can pick some real fucking doozies. But one guy was married...
said he'd give you the shirt off your back, like his back, someone's
selling
back.
His sausages. She obviously wasn't a fan of sausages. I think that was why he copped it.
But I think 1 or 2 you could get away. The first guy, it'd be shit luck if all 7 were like that and you had to kill them to get away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't believe 7.
Either do I. I'm sorry, whatever your name was, Eileen, however you say
Eileen.
it. Eileen.
Come on, Eileen.
Come on, Eileen.
Come on, Eileen. You can't be doing this shit. The next one was Charles Richard Dick Humphreys.
Charles Richard Dick.
Dick in quotations.
Oh, I was going to say, fuck, surely someone's parents couldn't have called someone Richard and Dick.
No, Charles Richard
that's
Humphrey's
a double Dick right there. That's
nickname
ridiculous.
was Dick.
Okay, that I can accept.
He was born on the 15th of December 1933.
She's getting them older.
Well, yeah. The 56-year-old never made it home from his last day of work at the Somerville office of the Florida's Department of Health and Rehabilitative Services. Charles was a protective investigator specializing in abused and injured children, and he was about to transfer to the department's Ocala office. Previously, he'd been a police chief in Alabama and was a retired U.S. Air Force major.
Wow.
Charles and his wife had celebrated their 35th wedding anniversary, and on the 10th of September, and on the 11th, he disappeared. But also, if she's a sex worker and she's ending up with these men are hiring her as a sex worker. I don't see how she gets to their car and them. Like, they all sound like great guys, but she, at the end of the day, was a sex worker. So were they hiring her?
There's more.
But wait. On the evening of September 12th, his body was found in Marion County. He'd been shot 7 times. 6 .22 caliber slugs were recovered from his body, and the 7th went through his wrist and was never found.
Jesus.
Well, he can't help, he is dead, but anyway. His car was found on the 19th of September and impounded on September 25th. The car was not traced to Humphreys until October 13th, the same day his discarded badge and other personal belongings were found in Lake County, 7 miles southeast of the murder scene. And her last victim was Walter Gino Antonio, who was born on the 22nd of November 1928 in Italy.
Again. Yeah, older again.
Walter was age 62, was a trucker, security guard and reserve police officer.
Oh.
On the 19th of November 1990, Walter's body was found near a remote logging road in Dixie County. Walter was nude except for socks. His clothes later found in a remote area of neighboring Taylor County. His car was found back in Brevard County on November 24th. Police determined that Walter's killer had stolen a distinctive gold ring along with his badge, nightstick, handcuffs and flashlight. By that time, journalists had noticed the obvious pattern detectives were reluctant to accept, and the media exposure forced authorities to go public with their suspect sketches on the 30th of November 1990. Over the next 3 weeks, police received 4 calls identifying the name.
4. That's all.
4 with the same tip.
Okay. I was going to say 4 calls.
No.
In how many weeks? That was piss poor and pathetic.
Yeah, no, 4 of the same,
Okay.
identifying the nameless women as Tyria Moore and Lee Blahovec. Aileen had a fake name.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 of the same calls said that looks like 4
Those
people.
2.
Yep.
Yep.
The movements were traced through motel receipts, detectives learning that Blahovec also liked to call herself Laurie Grody, which was her auntie's name, and Cammy Marsh Green. Fingerprint comparisons did the rest, naming Blahovec Grody Green / as Aileen Wuornos, placing her at the scene where Peter Symes's car was wrecked in July, but it still remained for officers to track the women down. Meanwhile, Aileen was busy pawning items stole from her victims and pocketing the cash. On December 6th, she pawned Richard Mallory's camera, a radar detector in Daytona, moving on to Ormond Beach with a box of tools stolen from David Spears. The next day in Volusia County, she pawned Walter Antonio's ring, later identified by his fiancée and the jeweler who sized it. The hunt for Aileen began on January 5th, 1991. Pairs of officers, including 2 undercover as Bucket and Drums, that was their undercover nicknames, Bucket and Drums.
Cagney and Lacey, off you go.
Yeah. They were drug dealers from Georgia, hit the streets hoping to track her down. On the evening of January 8th, Mike Joyner and Dick Martin, in their roles as Bucket and Drums.
Bucket and Drums coming to Netflix.
Yeah. Spotted her at the Port Orange pub. They meant for their takedown to develop gradually as they wanted an airtight case, but Port Orange police entered suddenly and took Wuornos outside.
Oh, shit.
Mike Joyner frantically phoned the command post at the Pirates Cove Motel, where authorities from 6
Jurisdictions?
That's a hard word.
No, it's not if you're not a fucking nuffy.
Jurisdictions had come to work the case. This development wasn't because of a leak. They surmised that the cops were just doing their jobs.
As if cops are going to just do their job.
Yeah.
Come on.
Bob Carley of the Volusia County Sheriff's Office called the Port Orange police station and told them not to arrest Aileen under any circumstances.
That would have made her sus though, wouldn't it? It's like they've pulled me in and they're just going to let me go.
I don't know.
If that was me, I'd be like, what the fuck?
The word was relayed to the cops in the nick of time and Aileen returned to the bar. Joyner and Martin struck up a conversation with her and bought her a few beers. She left the bar at around 10, declining an offer for a ride. 2 Florida Department of Law Enforcement officers pulled up behind Aileen as she walked down Ridgewood Avenue, following her with their lights off. Aileen made it to her next destination, a biker bar called The Last Resort. Undercover officers, bucket and drums, met her there.
But didn't she just talk to them at the previous bar?
Yeah, but if it's only walking distance, like you'd
be fucking sus. I'm sorry, she obviously was stupid because if she's talked to him at the bar, she was taken to the cop shop, let go for no apparent reason.
No, she wasn't at the cop shop. The police just pulled her out of the bar and talked to her out the front of the bar.
Okay, well, anyway, cops talking to her, sus. These 2 dickheads talking to her. She leaves going, yeah, you 2 a bit dodgy. And then they go and start talking to her at another bar.
Yeah, but
like,
they keep
fuck off.
drinking at the next bar.
Yeah, no,
so
but
she might have. Yeah, but
God, serial killers are dumb. Clearly.
But they drank.
Or I'm just untrusting.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I'd be like, oh, fuck off.
Or if you're doing a bit of a bar hop and they're all in the same area, you're bound to meet up with the same people.
Hey, you again.
They left just after midnight. Aileen didn't leave at all. She spent her last night of freedom sleeping in an old car seat in the Last Resort. The following afternoon, Joyner and Martin were back at the Last Resort as bucket and drums, talking Aileen up and wearing transmitters that kept the police appraised on everything that went on. They had planned on making their collar late that night. I don't know what that means.
The bus, like getting
Oh, is that what it is? Okay. Yeah. But the Last Resort was gearing up for a barbecue and bikers would start pouring in at any second.
Oh, God.
The decision was made at the command post to go ahead with the arrest. Bucket and Drums asked Aileen if she'd like to get cleaned up at their motel. She accepted their offer and left the bar with them. Outside on the steps, Larry Horzepa of the Marion County Sheriff's Office approached her and told her that she was being arrested on the outstanding warrant for Laurie Grody.
Sorry. Why didn't they just arrest her the night before then? Like it made no difference from letting her go, talking to her and then going, no, don't arrest her. She hasn't done anything during the course of drinking with these fuckwits to get arrested for. So
maybe they were hoping, we'll put a bit of alcohol on her and she might spill. I've had to survive. Or maybe they were hoping they'd fill her full of alcohol.
But she didn't. By all accounts, she didn't. She's just gone from night 1 to night 2. Nothing's changed, but first thing we couldn't arrest her, now we could. So many questions.
Anyway.
So many questions.
I just give you an overview. I don't give you all the fucking nitty-gritties.
All the nitty-gritties.
Oh, well, I'll try harder.
Yeah.
A day later, Taria Moore was traced to her sister's home in Pennsylvania where she agreed to help the police. She was read her rights but not charged with anything. Bruce Munster of Marion County made sure she knew what perjury was, swore her in, and sat back as she gave her statement. She had known about the murders since Aileen had come home with Richard Mallory's Cadillac. She said Aileen had openly confessed that she had killed a man that day, but Taria told her not to say anything else. Quote, I told her I didn't want to hear about it, and then any time she would come home after that and say certain things telling me about where she had got something, I'd say I don't want to hear it.
Of course you did.
The next day, Taria accompanied detectives back to Florida to assist in the investigation. A confession from Aileen would make the case against her virtually airtight. The detectives explained their plan for obtaining one to Taria on the flight. They would put her in a Daytona motel and have her make contact with Aileen in jail, saying she'd received money from her mother and came down to get the rest of her things. Their phone conversations would be taped, and Taria was to tell Aileen that authorities had been questioning her family, that she thought the Florida murders would be mistakenly pinned on her. Investigators hoped that out of loyalty to Taria, Aileen would confess. The first call to Aileen was on the 14th of January. She was still under the impression that she was only in jail for the Laurie Grody weapons violation when they found her in the pew. When Taria broached her suspicions, Aileen reassured her, "I'm only here for that concealed weapons charge in 86 and the traffic ticket, and I tell you what, man, I read the newspaper and I wasn't one of those little suspects." She was aware, though, that the jailhouse phone was monitored and made efforts to speak of the crimes in code words and to construct alibis. "I think somebody at work, where you worked at, said something that it looked like us, and it isn't us, see? It's a case of mistaken identity." Phone calls continued for 3 more days. Taria tried to convince Aileen that the police were after her and thinking she had committed the murders and was worried. Aileen accused Taria of not being alone and that someone was taping their conversations, but as the phone calls kept going, Aileen began to be less careful about what she said.
Mm-hmm.
She would not let Taria go down
Bit like
with
Big Brother
her.
cameras. They forget they're there and start spieling.
Just go ahead and let them know what you need to know. What you need to know, what they want to know, or anything, I will cover for you because you're innocent. I'm not going to let you go to jail. Listen, if I have to confess, I will. And on the morning of January 16th, she did. Larry...
She did what?
Confess.
Oh.
If I have to confess, I will. On the morning of the 16th, she did. Larry Horzepa and Bruce Munster as the 2 detectives that Aileen confessed to.
Were they Dog and Bounty Hunter, or was that... what was
Drums and Buckets.
That's it.
No, these
Close.
are the other ones.
Okay.
She kept going over 2 main points again and again. That Taria was not involved in any way, and the second that was nothing was her fault, not the murders and not the circumstances that led her down to the criminal path that was her life. Poor her. Nothing's her fault. She claimed that all the killings were done in self-defense and each victim had either assaulted her, threatened her, or raped her, although her story seemed to keep developing as she told it. When she thought she'd said something incriminating, she would backtrack and retell that part, changing details to suit her overall scenario. Aileen said that she had been raped.
There's someone like that lies and can't remember what they said and has to backtrack and then comes out a different version and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Aileen said she had been raped several times in the past few years and claimed that she had had enough. When each of her victims became aggressive, she killed out of fear. Several times, Michael O'Neill, a public defender from the Volusia County Public Defender's Office, advised Aileen to stop talking, finally asking in exasperation, "Do you realize these guys are cops?" Aileen told him, "I know, and they wanted to hang me, and that's cool because maybe, man, I deserve it. I just want to get this over with." An avalanche of books and movie offers poured into detectives, relatives, Taria, and even Aileen herself. Aileen seemed to think that she would make millions from her story, not yet realizing that Florida had a law against criminals profiting from such a manner.
I was just going to say.
She was all over the local and national media. She felt famous, and she continued to talk about the crimes with anybody who would listen, including Volusia County Jail employees. With each retelling, she refined her story, casting herself in a better light each time.
Yep.
We also have a side quest character. A side quest character.
What the fuck's a side quest character?
It's a...
Jesus Christ, character.
It's like when you're playing a game and there's the main part of the game, then you get some side quests.
I've never heard the expression side quest before.
Haven't you?
No.
Oh.
I thought you were just making up shit in your head.
No. Okay, well, we have an additional character to this story.
Well, that sounds better than side quest.
Anywho, this is, not to be confused with Aileen, but her name is Arlene.
Oh, for God's sake, yep.
Arlene.
Come on, Arlene.
Parali? Sure. Arlene was a 44-year-old. Please keep your comments, noises, and everything to the end because you're going to disturb me. Arlene was a 44-year-old born-again Christian who ran a horse breeding and boarding facility near Ocala. She had seen Eileen's picture in the newspaper and wrote her a letter.
Oh.
The letter started off with,
"May the Lord forgive you."
Well, My name is Aileen Prully. I'm born again. You're going to think I'm crazy, but Jesus told me to write to you.
Oh, of course he did. Yep.
In her letter, she gave Aileen her home phone number, and on the 30th of January, Aileen called her.
Oh, fuck.
These quickly became daily telephone conversations at Aileen's expense. Aileen advised, I don't know if I'm really hitting her. It's probably just like Aileen, but Aileen. Anyway, Aileen advised her that her public defenders were trying to profit from her story, as was everyone else. Aileen asked for her to get new attorneys. Aileen...
I don't even know which one's which anymore.
Oh, we'll go with their last names then. Pirelli?
Yeah, that'd be a lot fucking easier.
Was that her name? Prail. Okay, so Aileen and Wuornos.
Yep.
Aileen spoke with reporters describing her relationship with Wuornos to a Vanity Fair reporter as, quote, a soul binding. We're like Jonathan and David in the Bible. It's as though part of me is trapped in jail with her. We always know what the other is feeling and thinking.
What the fuck? She's known it for 5 seconds, hasn't she?
To another reporter, she said, if the world could know the real Aileen Wuornos, there's not a jury that would convict her.
Oh my God. They should fucking commit her. She should be in a fucking Looney Tune bin.
You just wait.
Please hold.
Throughout 1991, Aileen appeared on talk shows and in tabloids talking to anyone that would listen about what she perceived as Wuornos's true and good nature.
What was this, her 15 minutes of fucking fame?
I think so. She arranged interviews for Wuornos with reporters she thought would be sympathetic, and during these interviews, Wuornos continued to tell and embellish her story. On the 22nd November...
22nd of November.
On the 20... Just hold in those sounds that you're going to make. On the 22nd of November 1991... Aileen and her husband legally adopted Aileen. I said hold your sounds in.
Oh, fucking hell.
Legally adopted Aileen after Aileen...
As what? Their mother?
After Aileen claimed that God had told her to.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, so Aileen was 35 years old. I said I couldn't imagine starting a conversation with Jay. Honey, God has told me that we need to adopt a 35-year-old woman who has murdered 7 men.
Yeah, but none of them's her fault.
No. So her trial. We'll just jump into her trial now.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, Eileen's attorney had come up with a plea bargain to which Aileen agreed that she would plead to the 6 charges and receive 6 consecutive life terms.
Mm-hmm.
One state attorney, however, thought she should receive the death penalty. So on January 14th, 1992, Aileen went to trial for the murder of Richard Mallory. The evidence and witnesses against her were severely damaging. Dr. Arthur Boggart, the medical examiner who had autopsied Richard Mallory's body, stated that Mallory had taken between 10 and 20 agonizing minutes to die.
Oh.
Taria Moore testified that Aileen had not seemed overly upset, nervous, or drunk when she told her of the killing of Richard Mallory.
That was good of old Morsey to have her back, wasn't it? No, I got your back.
As someone that she referred to as her wife.
Yeah.
Taria had said, we were sitting on the floor watching TV. She just came out and said, I have something to tell you. And I asked her what, and she said that she had shot and killed a man that day. Taria had told Aileen that she didn't want to know any more. Taria's suspicions that she was killing more people grew as Aileen brought home more and more stolen items. She refused to listen when Aileen tried to tell her where she had got them, fearing that she might be forced to call the police if she heard the truth. Florida has a law known as the Williams Rule that allows evidence relating to other crimes to be admitted if it helps to show a pattern.
Okay.
Because of the Williams Rule, information regarding the other killings was presented to the jury. Eileen's claim of having killed in self-defense would have been a lot more believable had the jury known only of Richard Mallory's death.
That's right, not a whole lot more.
Now the jury made aware of all the murders, self-defense seemed very improbable. I'm sorry, but after hearing all that, how the fuck do you think poor her, she was just a sex worker that had to kill for self-defense?
Yeah, 7 times.
After the excerpts of her videotaped confession were played, the self-defense claim seemed ridiculous. Tricia Jenkins, one of Eileen's public defenders, did not want her client to testify and told her so, but Aileen insisted on telling her story.
Of course.
By now, her account of Mallory's killing barely resembled the one she had gave in her confession. She claimed that Richard Mallory had raped, sodomized, and tortured her.
Oh.
On cross-examination, prosecutor John Tanner obliterated any shred of credibility she may have had. As he brought to light all her lies and inconsistencies, she became agitated and angry. Her attorneys repeatedly advised her not to answer questions, and she invoked her Fifth Amendment right 25 times. She was the defense's only witness, and when she left the stand, there was not much doubt about how her trial would end.
Mm-hmm. I don't think there was much doubt before her trial started.
No. On January 27th, jury returned with their verdict in less than 2 hours.
Wow.
They found Aileen guilty of first-degree murder, and as they filed out of the courtroom, she exploded with rage, shouting, "I'm innocent. I was raped. I hope you get raped, scumbags of America."
Oh.
Her outburst was fresh in the minds of the jurors as the penalty phase of her trial began the next day.
So they involved in that?
I think it's whether it's life or death or...
Oh, okay, yep.
I think
and
the
then
judge...
the judge gets the final, yep, I agree or no, I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Expert witnesses for the defense testified that Aileen was mentally ill and that she suffered from borderline personality disorder and that her tumultuous upbringing had stunted and ruined her life.
So did killing 7 people.
Yeah, a lot of people have a really shit childhood that
Yeah.
turn out a murderer. Jenkins referred to her client as a damaged, primitive child as she pleaded with the jury to spare her life. But jurors neither forgot nor forgave the woman they came to know during the trial. With a unanimous verdict, they recommend that the judge sentence her to the electric chair, and he did so on January 31st.
Wow.
On March 31st, she pleaded no contest to the murders of Dick Humphreys, Troy Burris, and David Spears, saying she wanted to get right with God.
So she only admitted to 3 of them?
Well, for now. In a rambling statement to the court, she said, "I wanted to confess to you that Richard Mallory did violently rape me, as I told you, but these others did not. They only began to start to." She ended her monologue by turning to Assistant State Attorney Rick Ridgway and hissing, "I hope your wife and children get raped in the arse."
Oh.
She was lovely. She was, yeah.
She's not half as nice as the lady that
Yeah.
turned into her on cross.
On May 15th, Judge Thomas Sawyer handed her 3 more death sentences. She made...
If you don't die the first time, we're coming back.
She made an obscene gesture and muttered, "Motherfucker."
As you would.
Aileen, yeah.
Motherfucker already be dead for the first one and the second one.
In June, she pleaded guilty to the murder of Charles Cars-Cadden, and in November, she received her 5th death sentence.
Jesus Christ.
In early February 1993, she was sentenced to die after pleading guilty to the murder of Walter Gino Antonio. No charges were brought for the murder of Peter Symes, as his body was never found.
Because he's probably still alive, possibly. So she finally admitted to 6 of the 7 murders. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know how he's linked in there, though. He's always linked. There's always 7. So I don't know if later I don't know. In 2002 article by Catherine Willowson, Aileen had apparently complained that state prison guards were trying to harass her to death and drive her to suicide.
Oh.
In a 25-page handwritten court filing, she accused the prison staff of tainting her food, spitting on it, and serving her potatoes cooked in dirt.
Oh, fair enough.
Her attorney said she also complained her meals arrived with urine. Her attorney, Raj Singhal, said Mrs. Wuornos really just wants to have proper treatment, humane treatment, until the day she's executed. I'm sorry, but if you're on death row. Aileen also reported overhearing staff conversations about, quote, wishing to rape me before execution.
Yeah, she wasn't 100%.
She wasn't.
At all.
Have you watched any of the videos of her?
No.
She is not right.
Why would I watch any videos of
I don't
her?
know.
Again, I'll explain it to you. You're the freak that's into all this fucking desert. I'm the mainly.
Mainly.
I'm neither of them.
You're the mum.
Murder. I'm the mum. Yeah, that's it. That's my whole contribution to this. Mum.
I'll show you a video later. She's not right. She also complained of strip searches, being handcuffed so tightly that her wrist bruised anytime she leaves her cell, door kicking and frequent window checks by guards, low water pressure, mildew on her mattress, and cat calling.
Well, it's not a holiday fucking
You're in
resort.
prison.
Yeah.
On
some
death
of them
row.
might be a bit extreme, but yeah, in general, it's not a holiday resort.
Yeah.
You're there for a fucking reason, to be killed.
In a 2001 petition to the Florida Supreme Court, she stated her intention to dismiss her legal counsel and terminate all pending appeals. Aileen wrote, quote,
Well, why would she appeal if she fucking pleaded guilty to 6 murders?
I don't know. She
I
wasn't fully
changed my
there.
mind. I didn't actually do them. Let's start again. Piss off.
Anyway, Aileen wrote, quote, I killed those men, robbed them as cold as ice, and I'd do it again too. There's no chance in keeping me alive or anything because I'd kill again. I have hate crawling through my system. I am so sick of hearing this she's crazy stuff. I've been evaluated so many times. I'm competent, sane, and I'm trying to tell the truth. I'm one who seriously hates human life and would kill again.
She probably doesn't even know the truth at this point.
Oh,
Because from what's happened to all the stories and versions she's made up of it,
eh.
again, bit like someone we know, that she wouldn't know, she wouldn't remember what the original story was. She'd be convinced in her own head
Because she
of the
flip-flops
stories you tell that was true.
She flip-flops between I did it in self-defense, they were raping me, and I killed them because I'm a killer.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't flip-flop.
Mm-hmm.
And the weeks before her execution, Aileen gave a series of interviews to documentarian Nick Broomfield and talked about being taken away to meet God and Jesus and the angels and whatever is beyond the beyond. In her final interview, she once again changed that her mind was tortured and her head was being crushed by sonic pressure. Food poisonings and other abuses worsened, she said each time she complained, with the goal of making her appear insane and to drive her insane. She also turned on her interviewer. You sabotaged my ass. Society and the cops and the system. A raped woman got executed and was used for books and movies and shit. Her final on-camera words were, thanks a lot, society, for railroading my ass.
Oh, for God's sake.
Eileen's injection by lethal injection. Oh, fuck.
Eileen's injections by lethal injection were injected.
Eileen's execution by lethal injection took place on October 9th, 2002. She declined her last meal, which could have been anything up to $20, and instead opted for... What did he give her?
What?
What did he give her as her last meal?
How the fuck would I know? I wasn't there.
A cup of coffee.
Why would I know that?
That was on Cross. Remember he was
Did he
feeding
get-
him the last meals and she had to have coffee and she spat it in his face.
Yes. Okay, well, you didn't tell me I was flicking back to Cross.
Oh, well,
I was
come on.
enthralled in this story going,
Oh,
what was
my
that? Why did
apologies.
she turn down her last meal?
This will be familiar because he quoted this. Eileen's last words were, yes, I would just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock and I'll be back, like Independence Day, with Jesus, June 9, like the movie, big mothership and all. I'll be back. I'll be back.
I'll be back.
I'll
I'll be back.
And I'd like to end off with some of Eileen's quotes.
Okay.
But whatever's beyond, I know it's going to be good because I didn't do anything as wrong as they say I did. I did the right thing and I saved a lot of people's butts from getting hurt and raped and killed too.
Wow. Okay.
A second quote. I'll be up in heaven while you all rot in hell.
Jesus, she's fucking delusional, wasn't she?
It's number 3. Man, I studied psychology, theology, archaeology, the nervous system, the brain, algebra, anatomy, read the Bible 4 times in its entirety, politics, and so much more.
Wait on, what was about the third one? Archaeology. What?
It's an ology, I'm guessing.
I'm guessing she was just chucking the ologies around because some of them like grouped together.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I can see you going from there to there. But fucking
Archaeology.
archaeology, that one threw me. Yep.
I'm just going to just quickly check that it's archaeology.
And it's not something else.
Yeah, I was right. It was archaeology. Anyway, quote number 4. Dead men don't rape.
Oh.
And number 5.
Dead women don't kill men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 5 is quite a good one.
Okay.
If you can't be a good example, at least be a horrible warning.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
That is Mrs. Aileen Wuornos.
Mrs.
Miss, ma'am, madame, it's Aileen Wuornos. I don't understand how people can be sympathetic towards her.
No.
As I said, 1, sure. 7, no.
No.
It is ridiculous. I get the sex worker profession they're probably more likely to be in that situation.
Yeah.
But to be in the same situation 7 times in a very short amount of time is a bit ridiculous.
And the option was kill them, steal stuff, sell the stuff, move on. So it wasn't even like going to the police and saying this guy tried to rape me or...
But again, in the 90s...
Her profession, they wouldn't have taken her seriously anyway.
But I feel like with her, it's like she possibly did because for that, they just happened quite quickly. So I don't know whether... Because Richard Mallory doesn't sound like a great guy. Like he was in a mental institution for rape. He was violent. He was this, he was that. So I wonder if he did that. He tried to rape her. She shot him and then went, oh,
this is all right.
I like this. And then did
one way
6
to deal
more.
with dickheads.
Get rid of them, get their money, get their car, get things. I don't know. But I just I think people look at her childhood too much and are sympathetic for that. And it's like, yeah, feel sorry for the child version of...
Yeah.
A lot of them, Bundy had a shit childhood. Gacy was called a wimp by his dad. Richard Ramirez was molested or something. It's like, yeah, feel sorry for the child version of the murderer, but not the fucking murderer version.
Yeah, exactly. That keeps going and going and going.
But yes, that was Aileen Wuornos.
That was.
We will
watch
catch
her on
you
Cross.
next week. Yeah, go watch The Cross on Apple.
Amazon.
No, Amazon Prime. Not Apple, silly lady. Where are we next week? I don't know. Australia.
Yeah, we will be because that's where we live.
No, our case next week is in Australia. Go on.
Okay.
All right. Well,
anyone know?
Hope you enjoyed Aileen Wuornos. Yeah.
Probably.
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
Bye-bye.
Oh, bye.